Did our opinions change on the war crimes?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll find out right now because you know what else is happening right now? Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Pixel. My name is Kevin, and with me today is Sam filling in for Phil because I took you by surprise. I try to I'm always trying to take Phil by surprise, and that I took you by surprise is a little win in my book.
What's happening? Where am I?
Where am I? This is not my beautiful house.
No.
So, yes, Sam's here. We're talking about World of Warcraft, Rise of the Horde, if you will.
Oh, yeah, yeah, right. Oh, my God. Throwbacks. Jeez.
If you will. It's been a minute since... Yeah.
2 separate times. Horde,
it's been a minute. If you will. It's been a minute since Sam and I got to talk about World of Warcraft, Rise of the Horde, if you will. So we're picking it back up. We're putting that body in the marsh, starting with Chapter 15. And there's a lot of bodies going into the marsh. Chapter 15 is, starts out with Thrall talking about Drekthar, talking about how bad shit got in Telmore. Which is the city that they're killing now, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, boy. So the Draenei are not prepared for an attack, and why would they? The city had been hidden forever with one of the green little crystal things. Durotan duels with Restylon after Restylon pulls him off of his wolf. And Restylon has the upper hand, but the wolf bites Restylon and rips his arm off or something, and Durotan kills him. And
this is the one, right, where Durotan and Orgrim had gone there as kids, so the only way they could get in was for Durotan to kind of sell out the Draenei. Because we get told so many times, his memory is so good, curse his impeccable memory.
Curse his impeccable memory! Why did he have to remember the exact words to get into the city?
They needed the special secret passcode, and the entire army is waiting on Durotan to give them the secret, to give the rock the secret passcode. And he even has this line where he's like, "Oh gosh, hopefully my Orcish accent will blow it for all of it." Oh no, it worked. Oh, I guess
it worked. Oh god, I guess we got to do a genocide. Don't you hate it when you accidentally say a word properly and then you have to go genocide somebody?
You actually remember the secret password. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating how much the book wants us to think he's fine and good and just circumstances, And it's this one moment is the whole book. This one moment's the whole book where it's no, actually, no, you suck real bad.
You suck real bad, buddy.
I don't even know if we properly explained that moment. It was very frustrating.
It is frustrating. And then, he kills Restylon. Orgrim is just crushing people's heads open with his doom hammer because that's what the doom hammer's there for. Mm-hmm. It's a hammer of doom. What else is it going to do? Durotan sees a crying little girl and she starts hitting him with bare fists. And he's like, well, I'm not going to kill a little girl. And then another orc comes by and kills the shit out of the little girl. And Durotan's like,
oh my god.
Well, that was a bummer.
Dang it. Dang. Golly.
Gee, golly dang.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, guys. Let's focus up. Let's stop trying to kill the children.
This drink needs to be alcoholic. I'm gonna go spike my LaCroix real quick. One sec.
Yes.
All right, continue.
All right.
I just got back from Kentucky, and so I've got my little moonshine vial.
Little moonshine, little A little bourbon about to be poured in there.
Yeah. Am I allowed to do this on camera? I'll do it off camera.
Yeah.
This is vanilla syrup.
It's fine. We don't... Phil drinks literally every episode, so...
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
He literally has wine or White Claw. Here we go. Yeah. Sam has spiked the LaCroix.
Ready to talk about this book.
Ready to talk about this book. So it's like, it's an easy win. The orcs just roll over them. And Durotan's like, in his impeccable leadership, is like, hey, instead of like just breaking shit, why don't we tend to the wounded? And then Durotan, because he's the good guy, orders the wholesale slaughter of any Draenei that are left that they find alive. And then he wishes that Restylon had killed him. And he's like, if I wasn't alive anymore, I wouldn't have to do this.
We totally talked about this in the last episode. You might have to, cut that from the last one. But I remember talking about this, and it's funny to talk about the most frustrating chapter twice.
Yeah.
I feel like there were two little moments where the author's kind of like, oh, you can like see where Durotan is coming from. Like the warlocks are torturing any Draenei that they take prisoner, so it's better for them to not be taken prisoner. And I feel like that is kind of like a nice little mic drop moment where you can see this dark path the orcs are going down, where they're just reveling in the slaughter of these people. And Durotan's like, hey, what about your buddies who like took a bullet for you back there? Like, can't we like take care of these guys instead of like breaking chairs?
Yeah. Hey, Brighton, come here. Are you gonna start scratching the door to get out? Hold on.
Yeah, be like Benny. You can't see him right now, but he's you'll see it when you're editing. I won't tell you what he's doing. I'll just wait until you see it in editing.
Right. I had to let Brighton out of the office because he was about to start scratching the door, which he does if I don't go open up the door within like 2 seconds of him like getting to it. Like, I acknowledge it, buddy. Just give me a second. But he is part dachshund, so
my heart.
He's a Chiweenie, so
I love short dogs.
He's a Chihuahua dachshund mix, Chiweenie, so he's got a lot of attitude. So we move on to chapter 16, which starts with Thrall writing about how shadowy the Shadow Council was and that they sucked. Pretty much, that's the gist of what Thrall was saying. Kil'jaeden is super happy with how the sacking of the city went and is surprised that Durotan carried out his orders. Because, Durotan talks a good game and then does nothing when it matters.
Right. Yeah, we were all surprised. Or I don't know who was more surprised.
Yeah, I don't think the audience is. I don't think the readers are surprised, but Kil'jaeden's surprised. So good for him. It's nice to have surprises in life. The Blackrock clan takes over the city of Telmore as their home and begins gentrifying themselves.
Well, they discover. This is where the timeline gets so weird, where it's like you see things in World of Warcraft where burrows will have chairs and stuff. I forgot what specifically they mentioned, but I think that the author's like, oh, they discovered that sitting in chairs is actually super rad. And you're like, did they just not have chairs? What did they do? Did they sit on the ground?
No, it's just the ground. There was no way to sit on a level above the ground. They never sat on their beds before. They didn't have beds. It was just all ground level. Tables? No.
Just kind of makes me wonder. It makes me wonder, like, what liberties the author got to take. Like, is it canonical now that, like, orcs got chairs from the Draenei? But literally no one should care about that. I'm the only one who cares about that.
The orcs got chairs from the Draenei. That was the real tech. They also began building the Citadel using Draenei technology. Meanwhile, Gul'dan gets the bright idea that maybe, just maybe, the orcs should team up with the ogres. You know? Like, why not? You could team up with the ogres who have killed a lot of orcs over the years to wipe out the Draenei who haven't. That's makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they do just kind of gloss over why that's a good idea, but they do it.
Blackhand hates the idea, but Gul'dan is like, but bruh, if you're able to convince them to join this horde, as it were, then people will give you all the props. That's not what the author wrote, but Orgrim doesn't like it either. BlackRock is chilling where the ogre leadership is, and they attack the ogres. They attack some ogres on their side. The ogres relent after a brief battle. So they use ogres to fight the ogres, and then the ogres are like, yeah, we'll join you. Blackhand's kids, Rend and Maim, are little shits and are willing to fuck up the alliance with the ogres just for funsies. And then Orgrim tells them to knock it off.
Yeah. I was gonna mention those two, and then you immediately brought it up. It's like, yeah, they were so aggravating. But I mean, I guess they should be, right? Because they're like 8-year-olds aged up to like 18 or 15 or something like that. Like
something like that, yeah. They're little kids in the body of grown ass men. And they're just like, we're going to kill some ogres for fun, and nobody's going to know. And Orgrim's like, I'll know, and I'll tell your dad to, that you did it. And then they shut the fuck up. Blackhand negotiates with Kroll, saying the ogres will get food and weapons if they join them. And then Orgrim notices that everyone's skin is turning green. Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember being a little bit confused by that, because I thought that when they drank the demon blood, that turned this... I thought it was a very, like, one-to-one cause to effect. But it just kind of took them by surprise. Right. Like, wait a minute.
It's like now. The green skin... Basically, yeah, it's weird that they... Yeah, they could have just had it with like the drinking of the stuff, but they wanted to make it so that like Durotan's skin was turning green as well, even though is it just being in the presence of evil turns an orc's skin green or something like that?
Yeah, I want to look that up, because I thought that Durotan's skin was well. No, he's definitely green in these pictures. Yeah. I always thought that his skin stayed brownish.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a weird... I feel like in one of the earlier episodes, I described how events will pass in this book, and everyone is just like, oh, okay. And this was just another one of those moments where it's just like, oh, everybody's skin is literally changing color. Oh, yeah. Okay. Just nothing feels like it matters even a little bit. Like child murder.
We're not gonna, we're not gonna get into it. Yeah.
No, it's just like, it feels like reading a history textbook that happens to be narrated by someone who's in. It's so weird reading it.
Doesn't matter. Moving right along. Everybody's skin turned green. Who the fuck cares?
I like this book very much. So, I didn't think it was that good.
I did not think it was that good either.
Sorry.
Sorry, book. In chapter 17, Thrall waxes poetic about the word home. Durotan notices climate change and tells Draka not to worry about it because they didn't subsist on things they grew anyway. I love this because he's just fucking like, yeah, you know what? We've hit 2 degrees Celsius in the ocean water, but it's not a big deal, you know? We're fine. Climate change is going to be fine, you know? We're great. Don't you worry about it. The orcs have been given the order to relocate to the Citadel. Durotan doesn't like it, even though the other orcs think he doesn't like the Citadel because he thinks it looks ugly, but everybody else thinks it looks magnificent. And it's like tall and pointy and all that stuff and stands out against the horizon. Durotan also doesn't like the new ogres because he's a hater. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Velen is piecing everything together. It's all Kill Jaden's fault. He finally figures out. The prophet figures out. And there's nowhere to go because their interdimensional spaceship is broken and Kure is dying. Meanwhile, Gul'dan is being smug with how things are going, and he mentions to the Shadow Council that Durotan hasn't been killed yet because he's a useful idiot. So I thought that was interesting where he's like, oh, yeah, you know, we got this guy, Durotan, who is clearly a moderate. He doesn't even call him like, he's not even like on the opposite side. He refers to Durotan as like a moderate, basically like a centrist, which is like the most damning. The most damning description of Durotan is like, yeah, if we just keep Durotan alive, you know, people will think, hey, we're not suppressing people's right to speak out.
Yeah. He'll occasionally voice misgivings.
He'll occasionally voice misgivings while following orders. He's perfect for us. Oh, boy. And then we get a weird little dream sequence that Kure is dying and the ancestors will fade forever. And some of the people who are like holding on to the ways of the warlock are very sad about having that dream. Chapter 8. The
ways of the shaman?
No, the shaman. Sorry. Yeah, the warlock is the evil ones. Yeah. And the shaman are the crunchy, you know, Nature Valley bar ones.
It's funny because I feel like it's kind of like a really old storytelling thing to have nature be the good thing and literal demons and hellfire and torture be the bad thing. And the story kind of like hands Durotan this like slam dunk where the earth is dying and they can't grow things anymore and the soil is drying up and the plants and animals are dying and everything, you know, nature is everything is bad. And Durotan literally is just kind of like, it's fine, I don't even like carrots or whatever, you know, like I don't want to eat plants anymore anyway.
But fuck those plants. I don't eat my vegetables anyway. I feed them to the dog, you know.
He even fails this like most basic like protagonist moment where he has the opportunity to be sad that the planet is dying and cannot muster the ability.
He can't even find the energy to really care.
No. He's like, it's actually fine.
It's actually fine. Did you know that soon there will be the new shoreline will be in Idaho, so you should buy property there when the sea levels rise. Oh God, Durotan. Durotan, the Elon Musk of orcs. Chapter, where the fuck are we? 18. We start with Thrall, I guess, talking about being the leader of the second incarnation of Horde. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I know this book was written after shit got started, you know, after World of Warcraft got started and all that fun stuff. But why would you keep the name? The Horde.
The Horde?
Why keep the name of the genocidal army? Because
no, that's true.
It doesn't seem like a good idea to keep that name, the Horde. That's not great. You know?
They could have used a rebrand.
They could have used a rebrand. And not like Neo Horde or anything like that. I don't think that would have won them any favors.
Well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Missed opportunities. That's okay.
It's okay. Durotan is talking with Gun, Gahoon. Just call him Gun. A warlock who misses being a shaman. Gun's skin is turning green, and Durotan notices. And Durotan loses his shit on the kid when he asks why he can't go back to the sacred mountain. The orcs have move on to take the Temple of Karabor, another sacred site for the Draenei. The battle isn't even described. It's just blood. Basically, it's like, turn the page, and there's blood everywhere.
Yeah, I don't even remember this happening. So
it's like one paragraph is they mass by the temple, and the next paragraph is it didn't take long, and then Durotan is vomiting because of how disgusting the gore is that surrounds him.
Oh my god. Yeah, sometimes I'll do that thing where like I'll be reading and then I'll think about what I want to eat for dinner, but like my eyes keep moving.
Right.
And it must have happened during that time.
it happened during that time because Rend and Maim make another appearance and they see Durotan vomiting on one of the bodies and they think this is a good idea.
I remember this part, yes.
And they just begin spitting on corpses.
Yeah, they're like, that's so metal. Yeah.
That's so fucking metal.
What a good idea.
What a good idea, Durotan.
Vomiting all over the corpses.
God.
Yeah, it's just like this. I mean, they kind of say this like orcish warrior culture thing where they're like, oh yes, they deserve only our spit, and then spit on the bodies, and it's like, again, I'm like wondering like how much did the orcs already talk like this before 1 week ago,
right,
when they became maniacal demon possessed,
yeah. Has it only been like you can be honest with me, book, has it only been like a week since this all started?
I've changed over time, but not that quickly. It takes a little longer for me to completely
yeah, it reminds me of that Cody Johnson tweet. I'm trying to find it right now. Okay. The tweet was, the left got a little too PC, so I changed all my opinions about the economy, social issues, systemic racism, healthcare, and history. That's the orcs.
It's like, one of our ancestors reappeared and said, hey, it's time that you guys actually took a violent stance against the Draenei. And they're like, fucking finally, we've been waiting for this. Like all of our
finally
vocabulary, traditions, everything was lined up to make us actually think that this
perfect timing.
Great. I'm glad that we finally had this excuse. I keep feeling like I'm saying something like problematic because it kind of feels like Warcraft sometimes does border into that fantasy problem of like racial essentialization. And I know that like move away from that, but
it does. And I that's the thing is like, it's not our fault that they decided to be race essentialists in their fantasy worlds. We can talk about how absurd it is.
It just feels weird because it feels like the orcs are just set up to be so innately violent to the point where they only needed this one excuse.
They were the distance between them and fascism was really narrow.
Yeah, and it feels super weird that doesn't feel like addressed at all. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not, because like Thrall later on is going to be like, yeah, and I'm the new leader of the Horde. Like, okay.
Yeah. Clearly, like, he's set up as like this other perspective where it's like, oh, like, we don't need to be this way. The orcs don't need to be this way. Like, we were misled, we were tricked. But then we get to see through like the eyes of this, you know, narrator back in time that they're having the time of their lives. They're having so much fun.
Yeah, they haven't even drank the demon blood yet.
They haven't. This isn't like some grim task. They're like, this is really fun for them.
They're living their best lives right now. And that is the fault of who do I blame for this? Who was the Warcraft writer? Not the one of this book, but like the guy at Blizzard who was behind all this shit.
I don't know.
Warcraft writer dude. Chris Medson. It's all his fault.
Well, this is what you get when you need to suddenly build a complex narrative around a broad set of characters from all sides of your story, when it started out with, here are clearly the good guys and here are clearly the bad guys who have a lot of fun pillaging and murdering.
Right.
That's what they like to do because there are cartoon bad guys. And then suddenly, 20 years later, the bad guys have to have like a tragic backstory so that you can feel okay playing as them in World of Warcraft, you know?
Yeah. It's like the old Warcraft was like, here's the orcs. They're basically green-skinned Vikings, and they're fighting against the humans. To go to town. That's it. That was have fun.
Indulge. Murder some humans. It's fun.
Just take your little action figures and slam them together until you get bored. That was the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gul'dan is talking to Kill Jaden and is gifted the temple from him, and Kill Jaden mentions that he has a gift for Gul'dan's little puppets. Gul'dan is writing letters to the chieftains, and Ner'zhul takes the letters from him to deliver them, but not before reading them himself. And then Ner'zhul slips another letter into the pile of letters. Ooh.
Oh my God.
And somebody doing this one thing Ner'zhul does. Yeah, he's like this is the most active protagonist thing that's pretty much done in the entire book. Is
that
Ner'zhul is writing this letter. Durotan gets the letter and is shocked, I say, by what it says. We, the audience, still doesn't know what's going on, and Durotan is going to refuse whatever it is. Chapter 19 starts with Thrall saying he's thankful for his parents and proud of the decisions they made because he thinks he is glad he didn't have to make those decisions.
Oh my God, Thrall's reading a different book.
Okay, Thrall. Thrall's reading a different book here. Meanwhile, at the Black Temple, Ner'zhul and Gul'dan are awaiting something, and then Kill Jaden summons his lieutenant, Manaroth. And they do some ceremony where Gul'dan stabs Manaroth's wrist, and it pools into the fountain, and the bubbly beverage that it makes will burn away any semblance of free will or something.
Yeah. Oh man, and the orcs like freak out. If you don't know what Manaroth looks like, look up Manaroth right now. I don't know what device you're on, anybody, but imagine you don't know that this guy exists, and then suddenly he does. And he goes, yum, yum, drink my blood.
Drink of my blood, and you shall enter the kingdom of... There was like a drawing I just saw where for some reason I thought he had his head was that of Garfield.
Why?
Because there was a picture I saw on the thumbnail version, when it's like really tiny on your screen. I thought his face looked like Garfield for a second until I clicked on it, and it wasn't. But now I'm like, if I'm going to use AI for anything at all, it's going to be to create Manaroth with a Garfield head. I think Jim Davis would approve that.
But yes, we're finally at the demon blood drinking scene.
Yeah, we're finally gonna drink some demon blood. Before that, right before that, Durotan and Draka noticed that they have green skin now too.
Yeah.
So the orc they're getting dressed that morning to go drink some demon blood, and they notice that their skin is a little flaky and getting a little green. The orc army goes to the mountain to drink from the cup of unity, which is just the blood of Manaroth. And this is what Durotan was warned about. And Grom Hellscream is the first one to drink from it. And he drinks from it and he gets more muscly than ever before. And this makes me think of that was it this episode, the writer's barely disguised fetish.
Okay. I just looked up the green skin thing, and it says that their skin turned green as a result of prolonged exposure to fell magic, which I guess, it would mean that, regardless of whether or not they drink the blood, their skin turned green. That also makes me interested in why you can play as, a human warlock in World of Warcraft, or, many other types of warlock, and your skin is just
fine.
Whatever color you chosen character select.
Yeah, it doesn't get...
Yeah, I don't know. Again, none of this matters. It's fine.
It doesn't matter. It's fine. It's all fine. It only affects orc skin for some reason.
It's so pointless to plot whole World of Warcraft. There's so much time travel. There's no point.
There is no plot. It is all plot and not plot at all. It is the plot does not exist. So chieftain by chieftain drinks from it. Orgrim refuses, and Durotan says he will not, and Frostwolf will not. Gul'dan makes a veiled threat. He's like, he goes up and he whispers in Durotan's ear, and he's like, "How the fuck did you know?" And Durotan's like, "Aha, you'll never know. I'll never tell you." And Gul'dan's like, "Haha, very well. Well, it's your choice." And then from there, Blackhand, who's all riled up after drinking the muscly potion, says they're going to attack the final stronghold without a plan.
Right now. Let's go.
Right now. We're going to Leroy Jenkins it right now. And Durotan remembers at the end of the chapter the old word for twisted souls, demons. It's really deep if you think about it. Mm-hmm. In chapter 20, Thrall calls the destruction of the city of Shattrath an atrocity so horrific that it wants to be forgotten. They rush off to the city. Kil'jaeden appears before the army and is like, "Listen, bros, I gave the ogres siege weapons, and now you have new spells in your brain. Level up." And everybody levels up, gets their new skill points in order, and then the orcs just roll over the city, absolutely demolishing it. Mm-hmm. And in my favorite moment of the entire fucking book, meanwhile, Kil'jaeden and Manaroth are like, "Well, that was easy," and they just fucking leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, well, we got job done. They're probably going to kill Velen.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we've got other things to do.
We got other things to do. Sargeras has already been like, up my ass about doing literally anything else but trying to kill Velen. So I gotta go. Back in the city, SpaghettiOs, Velen is actually not there, and Gul'dan is not happy. And we rewind in time for the rest of the chapter to show that Velen had a slick Ocean's 11 style plan to kill Jaden and the orcs by letting most of his people die, except for a select few.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a really good plan. He's like, you're all gonna die except me and a few of my friends, but we'll remember you.
Bad that they don't have magic that can.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Bad.
Yeah. So they're hidden away using one of the crystals to just they're not findable. And then chapter 21, Thrall mentions that after all was said and done, Kil'jaeden just abandoned them. Ner'zhul confronts Gul'dan and tells him, "You made your bed, now lie in it." Durotan and Orgrim talk about the fate of the world and how everything has gone to shit. And we apparently have jumped ahead 3 years since the destruction of the Draenei. More orcs have been lost to disease and starvation than war. And it's like, the Citadel has been renamed the Hellfire Citadel. They're like, oh yes, please make it cooler sounding.
Man, yeah. Even just talking about this, I'm like, I want to get World of Warcraft again.
Would you be playing regular or classic?
Regular World of Warcraft is dead to me. I would be playing classic.
Okay. Well, I know the classic one is doing. It's just about to do the DLC that was like the split point originally between regular and classic. I think it's something. Yeah, wow. It's like catching up. So they're gonna have to do classic. I think at some point.
You can pick which expansion you want to play from, which is very cool. The only downside is that every server is dead.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at this point, they just need to have like one big server.
Yeah, consolidate them down a little bit.
Yeah, because I was playing on a Burning Crusade server for a little while. You're just running around, you'll walk into a massive city, and there's like a guy standing on a mailbox, and you're like, whoa, it's emptied out.
Oh, that's sad. It
is kind of sad. It's okay.
The fall of a gaming legend, so to speak, sort of. Yeah. I don't know. I guess people are still playing it.
Nothing lasts forever.
Nothing lasts forever.
Especially Draenor, which is about to explode.
Yeah. So
they built a whole planet.
A whole planet. Like Star Wars style.
Yeah.
That's a lot of destruction right there. Yeah. So Durotan finally asks Orgrim why. Oh wait, no, I skipped ahead. The stranger who works for Sargeras comes to Gul'dan in his sleep and promises more power if he takes his orcs to another dimension where there will be even more people to kill and plenty to eat.
Yup.
Gul'dan's he's never learned a damn thing, so he says yes.
Yeah, it's so like another moment where it's like if you don't know the story already, like you're reading the book and you're like, who is this for? Because to just have this other all-powerful guy show up and be like, listen to me now instead. Like, right. What kind of storytelling is that? These orcs just dragged around.
Just getting dragged around the planetary interdimensional whatever map.
These guys.
Just more guys. And he's described as a stranger. I think they give his name later. I forget. But the fact that he's called a stranger initially just makes me think he's wearing like a trench coat and fedora or something like that.
Yeah, that would be better. I would love that.
Like, hey, kid, heard you're looking for a new planet. So Thrall mentions that teleporting to Azeroth was both a blessing and a curse. In his little thing there, Durotan and the Shadow Council begin redirecting the effort, or Gul'dan and the Shadow Council begin redirecting the efforts of the orcs. He gets them to fight in duels, so they have an outlet for their violence. And then he starts building a portal. And Durotan asks Orgrim why he didn't drink from the cup. And Orgrim says something like, it ain't right, or something like that. And then Orgrim thinks about the Doomhammer and the prophecy. And he's like, well, I saved things and then I ruined things, so I guess I'm supposed to save things again.
Yeah.
Yeah, good old Orgrim. They all assemble at the portal, and Gul'dan has to sacrifice a Draenei child to get it open. Durotan screams no, and
find one of those.
Where is he just keeping it in storage? I guess.
I guess. What's the deal?
What? I thought they all disappeared.
Yeah. Okay.
Durotan screams no, and then he starts getting the shit beat out of him by the other orcs. And then when the portal opens, it kind of looks like swampland. The scouts go through, they come back with fresh game and water, and then they all shout, "For the Horde!" And that's the end of the main story. And then there's an epilogue about Thrall just wrapping things up in a bow. It's like, yeah, the Frost Wolves got through, and then they were exiled. And then the land they live on now is called Durotar, and his father, and their after his father, and their largest city is Orgrimmar after Orgrim. And he's interrupted by a messenger who tells him that the Draenei have arrived in Azeroth, led by Velen, and Jaina Proudmoore has welcomed them into the Alliance. And the last words of the book are, "Ancestors, save us."
It's so funny. I forgot the book ended that way because I was just sitting here thinking, God, the Draenei must have been so mad because they get on their spaceship and they're like, okay, time to go to the next planet. All right, like this one didn't pan out. Next planet.
Right.
And then they land on Azeroth and the orcs are already there.
Yeah.
God damn it. Out of all the planets, we both could have
landed on yeah. And the people that genocided us are right there. And they're calling themselves the Horde after the group that genocided us. So
you break your lease to get away from your shitty roommate, and then you go apartment hunting and you move in to the first place you find, and your roommate is living there. Like, how did this even happen?
What the fuck happened?
Oh, poor Draenei.
Poor Draenei. Yeah, so what are your overall thoughts on the book now that we've finished talking about it? How you feeling about it?
I think it would have been hard to make the orcs sympathetic here. I wish that they didn't even try.
Yeah.
I wish they didn't add Thrall to kind of wax poetic about home and family and justice and love and, history. Like, just tell it like it is. Some really fucked up shit happened.
Yeah.
And no one made good decisions. There were no heroes. There were no heroes. Time.
This is a story about just people making mistakes at every turn.
Yeah. This was a story about the Draenei who never deserved any of this.
Yeah, the most peaceful people ever to exist. The Draenei and the orcs, who were pretty cool until somebody suggested maybe you could have more power, and then they took it. Yeah.
Or make Durotan do a thing. That's my one piece of feedback. Just like make him do a thing in the whole book.
This could have been very interesting if the whole through line was Durotan running an orcish resistance against the Shadow Council. You know, if he just did anything, even if it was all for naught, like even if it ultimately didn't change anything in the end, like giving Durotan some agency to, like, instead of like the 2 or 3 times in the book where he does some active light resistance and the dozens of times where he just thinks about it.
Yeah, like have Gul'dan actually put him in a bind, you know? Like there's leverage. He doesn't have to just begrudgingly go along with everything and then listen to Draka say, oh man, if it were up to me, I would just simply not do the genocide. And then we have to listen to Durotan say, well, it's not up to you. Gosh, I wish someone would kill me so that I would stop doing all these war crimes.
Somebody please kill me.
What a book.
It's like, you know, you could, I mean, if you're you could just resist and get killed. I mean, that's the other way to it. So if you don't mind dying that much.
Yeah, and I feel like we also said in an earlier episode that there is value in stories about people who want to think they're the good guys, who do terrible things anyway, because they're going along with what's easiest, or they're just not questioning enough, or like they come up with internal justification for why they can't do the hard thing and actually stand up against people who are very close to them. Durotan's not, this is not that story. This isn't that. The Thrall is put into the book to very consciously remind us that Durotan is the good guy. He's not just a bad guy with a conscience.
Right.
But this is not that.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help flesh out the legend of Durotan at all. It doesn't make him any more. It doesn't make it like, oh, he doesn't deserve to have a land named after him.
No.
Is what I'm saying.
Anything. Thrall could have been the character reminding us that all of this sucked and that he is not going to be anything like his parents, or like, he's going to turn this all around because there is nothing redeemable.
Yeah, exactly. He could have been that guy, and instead he's just like being like, the old ways, and my parents had such hard decisions to make. And the Draenei are here, and oh no, we're going to keep the name the Horde.
There is something potentially very poignant even in that question, like, oh, if I had been in my father's shoes, would I have done the right thing? Like, that's an interesting question, but that's also not really what he asks.
He doesn't ask it or attempt to answer it.
I think that there's, that kind of fear, like, in all of us, like, just if I had been in like slightly different circumstances, if I were put in a position where I needed to make a really difficult decision, would I be courageous enough to make the right decision?
Right.
So Thrall can stay. Thrall can stay. Have him ask interesting questions. Don't just have him apologize for people of the past. That's not a good look.
It's not a good look. Yeah. So that's the end of this book. Not great. Not a great book. Yeah. I think it's towards the bottom of our list. Sam, since I know you're probably just playing Heroes of the Storm still, I'll ask you another question. What are you working on right now?
I am constantly working on like 17 different videos, and so it's hard whenever somebody asks me, what are you working on? Like, which one do I pick? I can say that today I was busy downloading all of the sex mini games from God of War 1 through 4. So I'm working on a video about those, about all the sex mini games.
Just the God of War sex mini games, or just sex mini games in general?
Just the God of War sex mini games. I was sitting at a bar with a friend. We were talking about how next on his to play list is Dad of War 2. And I just kind of offhand was like, man, like Kratos has come a very long way from, sexing 8 concubines at once. And my friend was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh my God, do you not know?
Yeah.
An integral part of this is not an integral part of God of War. These were very optional mini games, but like
right. But they were there.
They were there. They were there. They were there. Somebody made them. So
yeah.
Stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that. Somebody made them and thought they were like really rad and a good idea to do,
I listened to someone who like worked on the game. He said that in the first God of War, it was there for character building, which fine, okay,
sure.
But then he said that there's no point to them being there in other ones. So it's like, okay. He's like, I can take them or leave them. It's like, someone put a lot of work into those.
Somebody down the chain was like told, be like, you gotta make Kratos bang, and
yes.
The banging has to be banging. And they're like, do I have a choice in this? And they're like, no.
It is going to be like a pretty optimistic video though, because like the real reason that I wanted to talk about it was like leaving that conversation and realizing, wow, I'm like laughing and joking about this thing that in 2007 when like God of War 2 came out, like I would have felt very threatened by that, very unsure of that. Like women in video games was at a very different point when those mini games were coming out, and so it kind of feels nice to look at how far I feel like the industry has come and how far people who play games have come, because it hasn't even really been that long. It hasn't been that long since God of War 3, but I just feel so much more comfortable playing games, so much more comfortable interacting with other people who play games, so much more comfortable even just like saying online that like I'm a woman, like, and not expecting what I could have expected in 2007.
Sure.
So it's it's good.
That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. So normally this part of the episode I talk about what I've been playing recently, but
what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? So these episodes will come out of order from like chronologically, but it doesn't matter. I've been playing Fear and Hunger 2, which, speaking of sex mini games, Fear and Hunger games have. Well, they're not mini games, but there are cutscenes.
Nice. Okay.
The Fear and Hunger series is very, I guess the word is transgressive in terms of a lot of like stuff. I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting series. I was inspired to play them after watching Super Eye Patch Wolf's video on it.
Right.
About, it being the cruelest, and something I find interesting that Fear and Hunger 2 does, and both this and the first one, is that oftentimes in video games, a lot of violence and fighting is your main way of interacting with the world. Not in all games, but a lot of them. And in this these RPGs, you would assume that combat and fighting is like the main thing that you got to do. But in these games, it's designed that the cost of fighting outweighs whatever the benefit is. So for the most part, it's a game about avoiding the conflict as much as possible, because around any wrong corner, you could end up like getting your character killed and ending your run, so to speak. So I've always had a lot of thoughts about like violence in games and how I think it would be more interesting if more games experimented with the way that you interacted with the world in terms of moving or progressing plot forward. And I know there's a lot of games that do that, you know, point and clicks and things like that. They've never really relied on violence, but for the most part, like I'm talking about big AAA stuff. I think it would be interesting if they dip more into that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I do love just like uncomplicated, violent games. Like, it's just a very visceral. Me too. It's just a very visceral way to engage with a game, but it's always weird to step back and think like, why is that? You know, what does it?
Right.
Is there really nothing else that can engage me like this? Like,
yeah, I get it. Because I mean, one of my favorite games that I played last year was RoboCop Rogue City, and it has, you know, you playing as RoboCop, and you shoot people's heads off, and there's a special animation for shooting bad guys in the dick, like, and what, like, and I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, but also at the same time, why is that interesting?
Yeah.
But I think that'll do it for tonight's episode. Sam, do you want to plug your channel and stuff?
My YouTube channel, you can find me at Afterthoughts. Sorry, I've been like giving like screen shake this whole time because my laptop is very precariously balanced. But yeah, you can find my videos at youtube.com/afterthoughts, and hopefully I'll have a weird video about God of War sex mini games out soon.
Thank you guys so much for listening. You can check out Sam's work on the YouTube channel Afterthoughts. She does amazing work there. I want to give a special shout out to the patrons at the Geek Scholar level: Friendly Friend, Jesus Loves You, and Ruthless Mutter. Thank you so much for being our $10 patrons. Your support means the world to us. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Blue Sky at Pixelit Pod. Just put the name in there, and you should be able to find us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, all that fun stuff. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good evening.